Friends, today we are going to talk about how to be a good sales team leader. Nothing drives sales more than a great leader. A good leader is key to any organization, but more so in sales. Over my 2 decades of running sales organizations, I've picked up some amazing techniques that you can utilize to elevate your game as a great sales team leader. Stick with me, I'll show you how. What does a great sales team leader look like? What are his or her makeup? Well, we want to show you that, exactly what their makeup is, along with the biggest challenges that you're going to face as a sales team leader. We will also help you understand how to lead, not only from a position of authority, but through quality metrics that drive performance. If you're ready, let's go. So what is a sales team leader? So if you've seen some of my other episodes, you see I've talked quite a bit about a sales team leader. Essentially, a sales team leader is someone who oversees a group of sales representatives. He is the leader. He's the one that drives performance. He's the one that trains the individuals. He is the key cog in the wheel that makes that team perform. He also is responsible to drive key metrics and KPIs, key performance indicators that lead to the team's success. He is over all of that. And a good one can really make or break a team. But here's one thing to understand what a sales team leader is. Now, a lot of times, a sales team leader becomes a team leader because why? He's really good at sales. Now, if he's really good at sales, but he can't duplicate his sales process, then that's going to become a challenge, because if you're not duplicatable, you can't teach what you do to the rest of your team. That's going to be a problem. I remember a time where there was a sales representative who was amazing, and he did really good at sales, but he was very unorthodox. His style was so different. I don't think I've seen anybody else do it the way that he did it. When we elevated him to a team leader, because that was a natural progression of his performance, we saw that he could not train anybody to do it the right way. And because he couldn't do that, if they struggled or needed help, he was unable to help them as a leader because he was unduplicatable. So being able to duplicate yourself is one of the keys to being a good sales team leader. Let's talk about one of the greatest challenges of becoming a great sales team leader. First off, as I mentioned previously, just because you're good at sales does not mean you're going to be a good leader. Most of the time, some of the best team leaders I've ever worked with had to learn how to become a great leader. They're two different things. Being able to lead and manage are different than doing sales. Sales could be an art form that could be done by a lot of different people, but being able to lead and manage are completely different. And understanding that might be the first step. I had a team leader that worked for me back in the day, and if we elevated somebody to a team leader and it didn't work out, he would always say, that's the Peter principle. And I didn't know what the Peter principle meant, but he said, you rise to the level of your incompetence. So if you are rising up the ranks because you're good at sales, but you don't make it as a leader or manager, essentially you've risen to the level of your incompetence. You find out pretty quickly what you cannot do, what you're good at, but that next step you might not be good at. So where you're at is probably where you're stationed. Now, it doesn't mean you can't learn, you can improve, and you can't get there. I remember I had a team leader one time, gave me some very insightful advice. He said, I asked him, I said, hey, what do you think your job is as a team leader? He said, my job, the most important thing I can do as a team leader is to remove all distractions from my team. And I thought, man, that's pretty deep. Really, because honestly, think about it. A sales representative, when they have distractions in their life or distractions at work, their ability to perform goes way down. So this leader knew that if he eliminated or removed most of the distractions that would face his individual reps, their ability to perform and perform at a high level went up. So how do you lead as a team leader? Well, there are a couple great quotes that I really like that I think really define this. The first one, a great leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. What does that mean? It means that you're willing to do it by example. You're willing to jump in and do something that you're asking those around you to do. You know the way because you've been there a while and you've learned these skills. You're willing to show the way, help them, improve them, and train them, but you're also willing to go the way. You're willing to go there with them, whether that means training, helping them when they're down, to do anything it requires to elevate and lift the team. I remember growing up, there were certain tasks I just didn't like to do growing up on a farm. And I remember my dad telling me, hey, I am never going to ask you to do anything I'm not willing to do myself. And that really hit me. And it really made doing those tasks a little bit easier, because I thought, you know what? If my dad's willing to do it, then I could certainly do it, right? He's not asking me to do something that he would never do himself. And I think that's important as a leader. Now, the second quote that I really like is nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Sometimes as a leader, we think just because we're elevated to that position that we can just tell people what to do, when to do it, and they're gonna buy in automatically because we own a title. People don't follow titles, people follow individuals. And so nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So a leader, a true leader, is one that will actually show the people that they care. He will invest time and energy into his people to build his team. Now let's discuss what characteristics make up a good leader. Now, a lot of people have varying views on this topic, but over the last 2 decades, what I've seen in great leaders, they all are pretty even keel. They don't get too high, they don't get too low. They are able to keep a balance on the team. They're able to get them energized when they need to, but they're able to hold them up when things are down. That, in my mind, is a great characteristic of a great leader. He's able to keep the team's collective energy at a good level without it raising so far up that they crash down or be so low that he can't pull them out of a slump. Now, I'm not saying they can't get excited, right? But if you're always at a 10, it's hard to maintain that. It's like as a parent, if you're always coming at your kids at a 10, if you're always fiery and just upset, you're at a 10, it's not going to hold any weight if you try and get more upset than that. But if you're always pretty even keel and you need to make a point, sometimes going from a 5 or 6 to a 7 or 8 does the job perfectly. And it's the same thing with the sales team leader, right? If he can keep his team at a certain level, they can obviously raise above that, but not go too far below it. Okay, one of my all-time favorite quotes is this. And I know I've used a lot of quotes, but I really like them, especially when it comes to leadership. But this one I really like, and I say all the time: a high tide raises all ships. So think about that. If your sales reps are around you, are they rising up because of you, or are they going down? As a leader, you need to raise and elevate the people around you. If you're not doing that, then something's wrong. I used to tell somebody, listen, if you are elevating or promoting so many people on your team to that next level of a closer or a team leader, what does that say about you as a leader? You are raising the ships around you, and that is the mark of a great leader. One of the last characteristics I think a good leader needs, it's really described if you've ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan. I love the part where they're walking and one of the privates says to Tom Hanks, who's a captain, he says, "Captain, how come we never hear you complain?" And he said, "I only complain up. You'll never hear me complain because I complain up." And the private said, "Well, listen, what if I was a major and I asked you that?" And Tom Hanks replied, "I would say, Major, this is a worthy mission. I'm excited to do it and engaged to do it." I think he taught a pretty powerful lesson there that, you know what? You're never going to complain to your people. Definitely don't complain about the organization. And if you do have issues, you could take that with upper management, but even then you're portraying a positive outlook on things. It doesn't mean you can't have concerns and address those, but saying them in the right way that brings positivity and encouragement to a greater outcome is really an important task for a leader. All right, really quick, let's finish off by talking about key performance indicators. As a manager and a leader, I know most salespeople don't like getting into the nitty-gritty of the numbers, but a lot of times that tells an underlying story. If sales aren't there, the only thing you can go to are the metrics or the KPIs. Understanding those and knowing what drives sales is key to any sales organization's performance, and it's really important as a sales team leader. In our organization, when we saw sales go down, we would look at 2 important activity drivers: phone time and dials. And we knew that if a sales rep, and my team leaders knew this, if they knew that a sales rep had a lot of dials and low phone time and not very many sales, he knew there was something wrong in this person's initial approach on the phone. Either their nonverbal, metaverbal communication, or they were just approaching it with the wrong pitch or tone. But that was something that could be trained and fixed. And usually when we trained and fixed that, everything would start to improve. It'd start to balance out where dials came down, phone time went up, sales increased. On the other side of the coin, if phone time is really high and dials are low and sales are low, it means the person is spending too much time talking on the phone, giving too much information. And because they're giving so much information, the potential customer is thinking, I've got all the information I need to think about it. When somebody says they need to think about it, typically what happens, you lose them. So we would have to dial it down, stick to the script, and then all of a sudden you'd see phone time come down, dials go up, sales go up. Understanding the metrics and utilizing them to your benefit will make you a great team leader. Now, this is my experience. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments. Tell me what you do. Tell me what you think makes a great leader, and I'd love to enter in a dialogue with you. Now, as always, I want to give you my free gift. It's a 12-part sales course. It's called Persuasion and Influence. Normally, we offer each part for $100, but I'm giving all 12 lessons away for free. Just click on the link below, aaronsSalesTraining.com. And hey, I appreciate you being here. Have an awesome day.